Father-Daughter Disney podcast. My name is Amanda. I'm here with my lovely mother sitting across the table from me.
Hello.
You want to say your name?
Janette. I'm Janette. I forget I have to introduce myself.
Yeah. Welcome back to the podcast. So today we're going to be doing a full movie review for the new Pixar movie Elemental, which is now in theaters. Review is going to be full of spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, I would definitely recommend just pinning this podcast for a second and waiting until you see the movie. And we have plenty of other podcast episodes to go listen to. So definitely go check out another one of our podcasts. Last week we played some Disney trivia to celebrate Father's Day. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Elemental. And again, we're going full into the movie. I'm going to go over the whole plot. Essentially, I'm going to make some commentary on the plot. I will say, of course, all of our opinions are our own. We're just sharing our opinions for fun, just to go over the movie. I also say, too, this is not sponsored at all. We paid for our own movie tickets. We actually had quite the journey to go see this movie. Yeah, because we went to one AMC theater and then they end up having some kind of technical problem in the overall theater. Like the whole theater was closed for the day. So we had to get a gift card, receipt for our tickets. And we went to another AMC theater and we drove there as quickly as we could so we could still see the movie opening weekend. Yeah, but we had a good time seeing the movie though. So we're gonna go over Elemental. So the description for the movie is set in a world inhabited by anthropomorphic elements of nature, earth, air, fire, and water. The story follows fire element Ember Lumen, who is voiced by Leah Lewis, and water element Wade Ripple, voiced by Mamadou Athie, who meet and fall in love after Wade is summoned by a plumbing accident at the convenience store owned by Ember's father. So that is the overall plot. I will say too, before the movie came out, I feel like I had no idea what this movie was going to be about going in. I feel like I saw very little descriptions and very little in-depth trailers. I just saw a lot of teaser trailers. So we really didn't know what it was going to be about. I just knew the gist that it was about little fire girl and water boy type of thing.
I was going along for the ride.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right. So we're going to do our general review first because we're just going to cut to the chase because, it's annoying when you have to listen to a whole review just to get to people's opinions. So what did you think of the movie as a whole?
I thought it was great. I thought it was very entertaining. I love romantic comedies. That's just my genre of movies that I love. And when I realized it was a romantic comedy only set in Elements, it was just that much better. But I thought it was really good. I mean, the story, the colors, everything, the depictions of the characters, I thought it was great.
Yeah, for sure. I'm the same way. So again, we're not movie critics, it's we don't go around critiquing movies or critiquing animation.
I know what I like.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm very easily entertained. And I was very entertained by this movie.
Yes,
it was.
That's what I would say. It's very entertaining.
Yeah, definitely an entertaining movie. It's a very fun movie too. I think it's very creative as well. It's the way that they kind of incorporate if these elements were people, so to speak, how they would actually interact with each other, how they interact with the world, what they're, how the fire people, they do certain things. We'll get into that when we get into the plot. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I would actually say this is one of my favorite Pixar movies now to date, simply because, it's hard not to love, a little romantic, little movie.
Yeah, a little romantic comedy.
With cute little characters, doing cool stuff. But there's a lot of really great messages underneath the overall plot of the movie as well.
Plot is
so I feel like they did very well. This is a great movie for everyone. So yeah, bringing in some great messages that are more kid-friendly that you can present to children or something. So, but yeah, all right. So now we'll get into the plot a little bit, and as we go through, we'll explain more of a little bit about the plot and also our ideas and our thoughts on the plot. I also want to say too, I wrote this plot mostly from memory and a little bit from Wikipedia. So if things are a little bit out of order, I do apologize in advance. I'm trying my best here. But because the movie only came out literally a couple days ago as of recording this, there aren't that many in-depth plot summaries of this movie yet. So yeah, by the time it comes out, there'll probably be better in-depth plot summaries. But as of right now, it was mainly my memory and Wikipedia. So, all right. So the movie opens up with two fire people on a ship surrounded by fog. They arrive at Elemental City and we see them start their new life here. We later learn that this is Bernie and Cinder Lumen. And later in the movie, so again, skipping ahead a bit, but we learn they had to leave their homeland because of a strong storm that had destroyed most of their homeland and much of the homes around them. Bernie was also then shunned by his father when he decided to leave their homeland to try to start a new life for him and his wife at the time was pregnant with Ember. So again, as they arrive at Elemental City, they are turned away from many rental homes, and finally they find an old building that they can purchase and fix up as their own. They eventually turn it into the Fireplace, which is a general store that Bernie runs. And there are a lot of clear metaphors in this very beginning, part of the movie, mainly all about immigration, just the two people who are immigrating from a place where they kind of had to leave. They didn't really have a lot of choice to leave. They get into a new city. They don't speak the language. Even when they arrive and they say their names in the fire language, the immigration officer basically basically just gives them Bernie and Cinder. He's like, yep, here are just new names because I can't say what you just said, you know, which is what happened a lot when people used to immigrate to America. You know, for instance, at Ellis Island, a lot of names were renamed because it was too difficult to pronounce or it was too many letters. Yep. We also see, again, them being discriminated for being, in quotes, fire people. So, for instance, when they try to, you know, rent a home that was owned by like an earth person, the earth person is like, nope, we don't, you know, allow fire people here because in their minds it's like, it's dangerous to have fire people because you're literally fire. So being shunned away, and then they start basically Firetown, which is what it ends up becoming. I think at the time when they, you know, buy the house, it's really nothing.
Yeah, it's all run down.
Yeah, right. But it turns into Firetown, which is, you know, the hub for all the fire people to kind of live in this overall city. And then we kind of get the little montage of Ember being born, her growing up. She is, of course, Bernie and Cinder's daughter, who is quite ambitious. She's very energetic, and she's very eager to take over her father's store. And that's one of the first things that Bernie sends to Ember, is that this store is for you, and that when you get older, or when you're ready, you will take over the store. However, as Ember gets older, we see that she struggles with a temper and with connecting with customers and staying calm when the store becomes overwhelming. It's kind of funny because I feel like that's something you'd expect from like a fire character, a very much a fire trope, that she has like the fiery temper.
Yes.
So I was wondering if all the fire people are going to have tempers, but I don't think that's the case. I think that's just like a her characteristic type of thing.
And later on you find out why she's like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Not just because of her fire personality, but because it wasn't meant for her.
Yeah, it's because, later on in the movie, we find out that she realizes that she's not sure if she really wants to take over her father's store, but it's just so expected of her too. Yeah, so she has so much, you know, pressure on herself to take over the store. But yeah, we'll get to that a little bit more. So, all right, so where the plot really starts is they're doing their red dot sale, which is kind of fun because I feel like that's a common thing in many stores to do a red dot sale. And her father tells her if she can run red dot sale, you know, on her own and successful, then, you know, one step closer to being ready to run the store. However, in a moment of frustration of all the customers, honestly, for being really honest, being stupid.
Yes, being customers, yes.
Like one customer is like, oh, it's a red dot sale. And he took all the red dots off all the items and brought her all the stickers. And it's like, why would you do that? But yeah, in her moment of frustration, she runs to the basement of the store and she has a big outburst of like her actual fire, because again, she's a little flame herself. And this burst breaks the water pipes in the basement, and this causes water to leak all over the basement. So as a fire person, she cannot touch water. And you kind of saw before that if a fire person touched water, part of their flame would go out and they'd have to quickly eat like a piece of wood, you know, or something like that, or have some of their original blue flame put on them or something to kind of reignite their fire. So yeah, so she's kind of running around trying to make sure she doesn't hit the water. And this is also where we see some of like their, I don't know, like how their fire people kind of come into play. So for instance, even though all the water is leaking, she can just use her hands on the pipes and melt the pipes back together. And that's how she fixes the leaks, which is kind of cool. Earlier too, we also saw her break a piece of glass, and she just literally ate the glass and then spit the glass out as like molten glass and reformed it to be whatever it was that she broke. Right. So I thought that was kind of cool that we kind of see the elements play to their strengths of what we actually know fire, you know, water, earth to actually be. So after that pipe bursts, we are introduced to Wade Ripple, who is trapped in the water pipes, and he comes slipping out of the water pipe crying, which we see Wade cry a lot. He's quite emotional, which I do love though, honestly. So he is the first water person we really see, like specific water person. And he tells Ember that he was looking for a source of a leak in the city's pipes, and he is a city inspector. So as a city inspector, he was looking for this source of a leak, but upon seeing the store, he ends up realizing how out of code the actual store and the building is. And as a city inspector, he says he's afraid to lose his job yet again. So he ends up writing all these citations, and he ends up writing 30 citations for his store, which is kind of wild. Meanwhile, he doesn't really want to write these citations. He's literally crying the entire time as he's writing these citations. But again, he's also fearful to lose his job. Right. So, you know,
he's being a diligent government employee.
Yeah, has the pressure. He ends up running away from Ember to go turn in the citations. Ember runs after him, tries to plead with him. And this is when we start to see more of Elemental Cities. The first time she's really going into like the main part of Elemental City. She's pleading with him not to submit the citations. And we also see some of the fun things about the city as well. So for instance, I forget exactly what she does, but she takes like a little bit of oil and she like throws this oil down and she makes her flames a lot bigger so he can't pass her because he's water. And he just goes, sorry, you're really gonna hate me, I'm about to do this, because there was a water pipe before her, and he just goes through the water pipe and comes out the other side. You see a little bit of how like these characters can play to their own strengths of whatever element that they actually are. However, once Ember actually pleads with him of why the store is so important, that it's her father's entire life work, how much it means to her and her family, and that this would absolutely devastate her father. He has a lot of empathy for her and realizes, no, you're right, like I don't want to shut your father's store down. However, it is a bit too late because he already submitted the citations to his boss. So we get a little scene where it kind of goes through a middleman first, where she by accident lights the entire middleman's place on fire, and because he's an earth person, she burns all of his leaves. But he seems fine though, like he, other than the fact he got a little haircut, he seemed okay. So, but then we know that the citations are going up to Wade's boss, who is Gail Cumulus, who is an air person, so she's basically just a big purple cloud. So she's the first cloud person that we kind of meet. And then he decides to help Ember convince Gail to excuse all of the citations. So Ember goes back to her parents, sad and frustrated because one, they still have the water leak in the basement.
Which they're not supposed to have, because the water was supposed to have been shut down to that building years
shut
ago.
off to Firetown.
Yes, they shouldn't have any water.
Yeah, so they're wondering again, where is this leak coming from and why is it getting to Firetown? Because again, if the water extinguishes a fire person, they would literally die. So the city doesn't really want that, obviously. So, that shouldn't be happening. But Ember's parents are, again, they're also sad and frustrated too with the leak in the basement. And we also see here a lot of that discrimination between the different elements, where Ember's father really hates water and water people. He always says it's like always the water people's fault type of thing. And he's always, yelling at the water people. In this case, I realize that it's literally life or death type of situation. That it's like if they fall into water, they would literally be completely extinguished, would be very sad. But yeah, so the next morning, Ember ends up running into Wade, just say by coincidence, but for the plot to move forward, because she's waiting outside of Gail's office to talk again to his boss. And he tells her that Gail is not going to be there because they're going to a sports game at Cyclone Stadium and he forgot his tickets there. And so Wade takes her with him, and it's clear here that Ember is quite out of her element. She's the only fire person in this entire stadium. She has to her little hood up, trying to hide the fact that she's a fire person, or also maybe just, keep her flames a little bit closer to the chest. And it's also shown here that fire people are not super welcomed here. While Wade is very welcoming towards her in a general sense, everyone else who kind of sees her kind of is a bit more standoffish. They're like, why is a fire person here? We don't really see fire people outside of Firetown. And essentially the game that they're seeing is basketball played with, people who are air clouds. I say that as that's what they are. They're literally cloud people, people. But they represent the air element playing this game of basketball.
Otherwise they'd be invisible.
I guess so. That is a good point. Ember and Gail end up getting into a huge fight with each other, calling each other, different names. However, they're interrupted when a player is doing, one of the cloud players is doing even more poorly than usual, and Wade rallies the crowd to cheer him on, and they win the game. And Ember, one, realizes how fun the game was, that she thought, this was just a dumb thing that, no one should really care about in her father's store, and her problems were more important, but then realizes how this game brought the entire community of people together. She also realizes too, when Gail tells her that the games remind Gail of when she used to go to these games with her own father, and the wins mean a lot to her because she knows her father would have been so happy to see his favorite team win. So they kind of connect at that same point of having that father-daughter relationship. And so once they understand each other, Gail agrees that if Wade and Ember can find the leak and fix it before the end of the week, she will excuse all of the citations. So Ember and Wade are now off for the search of the canal's source of the leak, and this is where we really start to see the two of them connecting on a more emotional level. So they go up in a little air balloon, they're kind of going around, we get the cute little romantic comedy type of, glances
they're being
to
thrown
each other.
Together.
Yeah, but they're still very weary of each other too, because again, it's water person, fire person, so but they do end up finding the leak, surprisingly enough, and they temporarily hold it with sandbags. So essentially the way that this town sort of works, they have a lot of ships that kind of come in and out of the overall city, and there's a lot of canals that are filled with water, and one of the canals is leaking into another canal that's no longer being used. So because these canals going to Firetown are no longer being used, there's a leak in one of the canals that should not be used anymore. So that's where the leak is. So they temporarily hold it with some sandbags, and then Wade is to follow up with a construction team to come fix it. However, because the construction team doesn't really like him, he can't get a construction.
He kind of gave him a hard time last time.
Yeah, he turned the construction team into cement by accident as a water person. So they end up trying to have to find some kind of different way to fix the overall leak. However, actually, sorry, I'm going a little bit out of order here. Before that happens, when they fix the leak with the temporary sandbags, Wade asks Ember to meet him the following day to see a movie, and Ember is quite reluctant to show up, quite reluctant because again, she's not really sure, but you can obviously see there's a little connection between the two of them. And so she ends up going the next day to spend time with him in the city, and we get this very cute montage with this very cute song kind of playing over them, doing things in the city. And Wade is always quite accommodating to Ember as well, because the city's not really made for fire people, it's not really made to accommodate the fire element there. Wade is always kind of there to make sure that she's still accommodated as best as she can be wherever they are. But it's still quite cute the way that they kind of connect connect with each other. They show off, the different things that they can do. For instance, Ember can jump from different gemstones, and her fire flame will turn a different color. Wade, he can skip across water, obviously. He can, turn himself into a fountain and everything. So it's kind of cool what the two of them can do. And their emotional connection is now truly building. So when Ember goes home, something that I didn't really mention before was that Ember's mother has some kind of power where she can smell true love, truly smell it. So with the fire people, she has them come into this like little seance type room, and she has them both light a flame, and she can smell from like the smoke of their flames if it's true love. And she told her daughter in the beginning of the movie, I smell nothing on you.
Right, nothing.
But now when her Ember walks past her, she realizes that some kind of scent is coming off her. And she realizes, is that scent of love coming off Ember? What is that?
Yeah.
Kind of jumping back from where I skipped ahead before. Once they realize that they can't get a construction team to fix the leak permanently, they end up on a beach one night, and Ember kind of opens up about how she's not really sure if she really wants to take over her father's store, but she feels so obligated to because of that extreme sacrifice that her family made for them to leave their homeland and to come to Firetown. And she feels like my whole life has been building up to this, that how do you repay such a huge sacrifice such as that? I think that conversation happens here. Maybe it happens at another point in the movie, but if I'm being honest, I cannot fully remember. So I apologize if you see this movie and this is not when that conversation happens, but it does happen eventually.
It happens. You're right around that time.
Yeah. Another conversation that I think they have on the beach, I'm pretty sure, is that Ember tells a story to Wade when she was a child. She really wanted to see this really special Vivisteria flower, which I think is a made-up flower that's just fictional to this world. I guess I could quickly Google it. If it's
wisteria is actually a type of flower.
It is a type of flower.
Actually a true vine or a tree, or wisteria is actually a real flower.
But this is Vivisteria, the V, so maybe it's based on that flower.
That's made up, yes.
Yeah,
I think wisteria is an actual flower.
Yeah, so she kind of tells the story how when she was a kid, her and her father went to go see this very special flower, and how they were turned away from the exhibit for being fire people. And they were like, of course we can't let a fire person into this exhibit with all plants and flowers. Like, you could, set something on fire. But then all the people are kind of yelling at them and shunning them as they're leaving, and, her father's making a scene and stuff like that. And she's very sad that she never got to see this flower. But in this moment, though, because they're sitting on the beach, with the sand all around them, the flames of her actual body itself turns all the sand around her into glass. And when Wade sees this, he thinks this is really cool. He's like, wow, like, look what you did to the sand. And she just casually picks up a little molten part of the glass, and she turns it into a little sculpture of a Vivisteria flower. It's very lovely. And Wade is absolutely astonished that she's even able to do this. And again, we've seen her before kind of mold things in the store and stuff like that with fire power, so to speak. I'm not really sure what to call it. But then this gives her the idea to fix the canal. So they go all the way back to the canal, and because they had used those sandbags as the temporary fix, she turns the sandbags into glass and creates a glass wall to stop the water from leaking. And actually looks like a very lovely sculpture, actually. So after they do that, now they're waiting for Gail's call to see if Gail is going to approve of this fix that they did to the leak. So she goes over to Wade's luxury apartment in the center of the city, and Ember's mother, who can smell true love, follows Ember all the way to this apartment.
Because she wants to meet the guy.
Yeah, and when she gets there, Wade says, like, I haven't heard back from Gail yet, but if you want to, my family came over for dinner. Why don't you come up and meet them? And Ember's a bit reluctant, but, she goes in. Meanwhile, the doorman does not let Ember's mother in, and they get into a very funny little comedic relief type of moment between the two of them. And apparently they did that all night, because when Ember leaves later on, they're still doing it.
They're still doing it. She slips past them, right?
Yeah, that is a really good doorman, let me tell you. So Wade's family is overall very accepting and kind to Ember. However, they do show some interesting microaggressions towards Ember. For instance, Wade's brother comment on her lack of an accent because she doesn't have the typical fire person accent. And Ember says, like, well, when you grow up in a city for your entire life, you just don't pick up that accent usually. His nephews also wonder if they splash her with water, would that just immediately kill her? Which I thought was like such an invasive child question to ask, that children do just ask invasive questions like that. Because even Wade's entire apartment is all water-based. So he kind of has to get a chair, which is actually just a pool floaty, which I think is so cute. All his furniture is like pool floaties, which is so funny. So he pulls over this pool floaty chair with a blanket so she could kind of stand on the pool floaty chair so she doesn't have to touch the water. But even then, it's like, this apartment's made for water people. It's really not made for specifically fire people. Yeah. But as a whole, his family is very
welcoming, yes.
Yeah, they're very welcoming towards her. They're very impressed by her. For instance, they break a glass pitcher by accident, and Ember just takes those glass pieces and turns it into a beautiful glass water pitcher, and Wade's mother is so impressed, she literally just cries at the table. But again, his whole family cries a lot. They are water people after all. After the dinner, they play Try Not Not to Cry, which is a game that the water people play as they were all quite emotional. So the goal is to say certain things and try to get the other person to cry, and they have to try not to cry. So Wade and Ember play this game with each other. He kind of starts off with, some kind of funny things. He's like, oh, a butterfly, half a butterfly on a windshield, things like that.
Make you feel sad.
But then the way he actually wins is that he opens up to Ember about how he really feels about her, telling her that she is this light in his life that he never knew he really needed, and now he can no longer see the world the same without this light in his life. And she cries a one little teardrop, which is very cute. Also kind of funny that fire actually can cry. I thought maybe it wasn't
Well, she
possible,
said she's never cried before.
That's
not
what I'm
once in her
saying,
life.
yeah,
That's
so-
why she said he's never going to win because she's never cried.
But yeah, just on principle that the fire people can actually produce water. That's just kind of funny. They eventually do get the call from Gale that the tempered glass that Ember created worked, and all the citations of her father's store are now pardoned, which is great. And as she's leaving, Wade's mother offers Ember an internship at the best glass-making company in the entire world. And that is because she mentions how the new parts of the city are now all being made with glass. So glasswork is now becoming a cool thing. So I feel like that's something they could maybe do in the sequel, type of thing, because we don't really return back to that idea ever again. But maybe in the sequel, we'll return back to the whole glass becoming a new thing in their world. However, this internship offer really scares off Ember from Wade because she realizes that she's not really sure how this is going to work. Again, she's a fire person, he's a water person. So she decides to run off home. However, Wade's like, no, I'm going to come with you. And he jumps on her bike with her. So when they get back home, they're still kind of arguing. Ember's mother was there outside waiting for them. And she takes the train home and she catches them. And then she's kind of yelling at them, being like, who are you? Blah, blah, blah. And she decides to perform, again, her true love ritual with the two of them. Because she's also at first like, you can't be with him. Like, what are you talking about? This is a water person. Part of this ritual involves lighting an incense. As Wade is not fire, he cannot just light the incense. However, Wade is so determined. He's such a lovely guy, honestly.
I know, he's just so
he's like one of those
so
guys
attentive.
you think doesn't really exist.
Yes.
But he cleverly bends the light from Ember and reflects it through his own body of water to create kind of like when you take a magnifying glass and bend the light to make a little bit of fire. He does that and he is able to light his incense. And when that does, the smoke comes up and you realize it's true love. However, her mother's not able to say that because Ember's father, Bernie, comes down and he's like, what's going on down there? And he is quite angered to see a water person in his house. He starts accusing him of starting the initial basement leak. They're trying to hide the fact of who he really is. Actually, I think this may happen at a different part because he has his inspector thing on and he wouldn't have had his inspector thing on before. So maybe he came to visit at another
No, I think
part.
he just recognizes him as the inspector. He says he's
well, no, because he has the inspector shirt on, and so, but then remember, he covers his inspector shirt, but his hand magnifies the word inspector because he's
right,
walking
through the water.
So sorry that this is a little bit out of order, but this is all the stuff that happens in the movie.
This
So
is all the funny stuff that's going on when the father gets involved. It's like any other rom-com movie when the mother's trying to hide what's going on because she's not telling the father what's going on, and the father's oblivious to everything.
The father's like, who is this person? He needs to get out. And he's like, I'm a food inspector, right? Okay, I'm a food inspector. He's like, you're a food inspector. So he comes up and he makes Wade eat fire food, but fire food is very hot, obviously. It's literally made from fire. So it's literally evaporating off of Wade's body because it's so hot.
But he eats it, just like any rom-com.
Yeah, he tries real hard. Bernie ends up banning Wade from the store because he gets so angry at Wade. Quite a comedic type of scene, even though Ember is like mortified that her father's doing this to Wade, trying to hide the fact that this is actually her boyfriend, So at some point, again, I feel like I'm out of order in the movie, so I apologize. But again, all these scenes happen, just maybe not in the same exact order. But Ember's father announces that he is indeed going to retire and that he is going to turn the store over to Ember. He also, and then this is actually when he tells her the whole story about, when they left their homeland and when his father had shunned him, because part of their culture is doing this sacred vow of respect to each other. And when he left his homeland, he did the sacred vow of respect to his father. And the vow is called something, but I'm so sorry, I cannot remember what it's called, and I couldn't find it online. We are recording this quite soon after the movie came out.
Have a name for it.
Yeah, there's not too many in-depth notes about the movie as of right now, so apologies about that. But this very respectful vow that Bernie did to his father, and his father did not reciprocate back. So it was a very, very sad moment for Bernie when he left his homeland, never to see his family again, never to see his father again, all to try to start this new life, for a better life for him, his wife, and his daughter, Ember. When Ember realizes that her father is going to turn the store over to him, she's already like, oh no, I don't really want the store, but she can't bring herself to tell her father that. So she doesn't want to disappoint her father. She wants to be a good daughter. And that's a motif throughout the whole movie that she keeps saying, that he calls her a good daughter. And she says, yes, I'm a good daughter, So at this point, she realizes that she cannot be with Wade. She's like, no, I can't do this. It's too much. And she goes to break up with him. However, Wade is like, no, let me show you something first. And he takes her to the Grand Central Station, which is now flooded. It's no longer in use. And this is where that flower exhibit was previously, where the Vivisteria flower was being showed. However, now all of it is completely underwater. So he meets Gale there, or I guess rather Gale meets them all there. And Gale, being a cloud, she creates an air bubble in the water for Ember to kind of, I guess, like float in, so to speak, sit in. And when she does that this way, Wade can then swim the air bubble with Ember in it down through, the Grand Central Station so she can go see the Vivisteria flower. And she is so moved by the beauty of the Vivisteria flower. Right before her air bubble bursts, they return to the surface. Wade feels really bad because, again, if that burst, she literally would have died underwater. She would have been extinguished immediately. But Ember doesn't even care because it was so powerful for her to see that flower in the first place. So here now, Wade is so determined. He's like, let's just try to touch hands. At this point, they have never even touched each other because they are so scared of what could happen. They don't know what's going to happen because the elements don't usually mix. She's quite reluctant, but he's very patient, and he kind of convinces her, like, let's just try. We'll start with something small. We don't know what's going to happen. And if it's a disaster, it's a complete disaster. And then we know. But he says, at least then we'll know. So they finally touch, just with their hands at first. And when they realize that she does not vaporize him and he does not extinguishing her, they are finally able to hold hands, and they have quite a little touching moment. And they do this little, slow dance underneath the bridge together. I think I cried at that point because it's just so cute. It's just so sweet, that it's like they're both so determined that it's like so difficult. At this point, of course, Ember, being a girl, she runs off again because it's too much and she believes that they're too different. And again, she runs home. So now at the grand opening of the store that's going to be under Ember's name, because her father decides to throw like a retirement party / Ember's, get in the store type of thing. Don't mind my cat running in the background, so you can probably hear her collar. They're throwing like this big party, and then Wade comes and he crashes the party, and he's making the big grand gesture of love towards Ember that we all see in the big movies. Again, that the biggest gesture you could possibly see. He says, I know that there's a million reasons why we can't work. I'm water, you're fire, this and that. He kind of goes through the list. But at the end, he also reveals that he truly loves her. He says, I love you, and I believe that you really love me too, and I think there's something here. Meanwhile, Ember's mother is like, yes, it's true love.
And the father points out.
And Bernie's father is like, that's the food inspector.
One of those confusing situations again.
Yeah, and again, he blames him for bursting the pipes in the basement. And then Wade, by accident, says, I didn't even burst the pipes, it was, and then he stops himself because he just revealed that it was Ember who burst the pipes. And so when Bernie realizes that it was Ember who burst the pipes because she lost her temper, yet again, he gets very upset and he starts saying, it's like, you're no longer taking over the store, I'm not going to retire. And then he gets upset and he leaves. Because Ember is so distraught and upset, she tells Wade that she does not love him, that she never wants to see him again, and she shuns him. And so Wade leaves heartbroken. Bernie scolds Ember, and everyone's very sad. So at this point now, everyone's kind of in their sad moment. So Ember kind of goes on a lonely little motorcycle bike, or I guess it's kind of more like a Vespa is what she has. She rides off on her Vespa, being sad. This whole time though, as like we see every time Ember shuns her father, shuns Wade, shuns someone, we see the crack in the glass at the canal that she had fixed, showing that Ember is cracking slowly.
Right,
again,
it's
that
just disintegrating.
Yeah, that metaphor. Now we're sort of at the climax of the movie. The glass breaks, but because there's so much water behind it, now all this water is now rushing towards Firetown. So Ember has to rush back to not only save her people, but also save her family. We also then cut to a scene where Wade was planning on leaving Elemental City. He was going to go traveling around, but when he sees the smoke in Firetown, he realizes that the canal broke, and he also then rushes back to Firetown. So Ember gets there kind of in time. She gets a lot of people to, go upstairs and, get away from the water. She saves her parents just in time. They kind of get on literally the Titanic, door, and they kind of float away. We don't really know what happens to them. Actually, they just float away. We don't see them again because her father is concerned about losing the special blue flame from their homeland. Ember is so determined to save the blue flame of their homeland that she goes in there. Now Wade is finally coming. She's so, I can't believe you even came back after everything I said. And he's like, of course, I was going to come back to, come help you, come save you, whatever. So he holds the door. He ends up he's actually the one who saves the blue flame the last minute, which is really great. But because of that, they end up getting trapped in a furnace that they have in the store. And and by trapped, I mean the debris from the flood ends up kind of blocking the door. So they try to go up the furnace from the chimney part of it, but that also has a lot of debris coming down from it. We just opened up the door for the cat, so sorry if you can hear any noise from that. But because of this now, the furnace is now growing hotter and hotter, and Wade realizes he's going to vaporize because again, he's water. So this whole time in this movie, we have seen a lot of moments where Ember is almost put out from the water. So for instance, their trains, their metro, so to speak, is water-based. So when the metro kind of goes by, it rushes all this water over the canals, over the side of the canals, the L, so to speak. This goes through Firetown too. So if a fire person is just standing there, they would literally just die.
They would just be wiped out.
Yeah, exactly. It's
they all know to walk under the L.
they know they walk under or, stay away, or they have like umbrellas. Like anytime water is near, like Ember always just like whips out her little umbrella to protect herself, kind of showing again that the accessibility for the fire people in this town is really not that great. They really could literally die at any moment, so that's really why a lot of them stick to Firetown. But this is the first time we see Wade actually start to struggle himself. Again, he's going to be vaporized because the furnace is getting hotter and hotter. And this was such a touching moment too, because Wade is not even scared or angry. He just tells her very calmly, he's like, it's too hot in here. And Ember's frantically trying to save him. And she wants to pull the debris out from where the flood is happening, but he stops her, saying like, if you pull the debris, then you're going to die because you'll be completely extinguished. And so they end up hugging with each other with the blue flame between them. Then we kind of like fade away, into the next morning, so to speak, when Ember's family comes to rescue her. They pull all the debris out from the furnace, and she's sitting in there by herself, just holding the little flame. And she says that Wade died saving her, saving the flame, saving the store, and that he came back for them in the first place. So then she goes up to her father, and she finally admits to her father that she does not want to take over the store, that is not her dream, but that she still loves him. And she says that she doesn't know how to repay the sacrifice that him and her mother did to leave their homeland and, start this whole life and do everything for her. But her father tells her that the store was never the dream, that she, Ember, his daughter, was the dream, and all he really wanted for her was to live a good life and a happy life, and the store was just an opportunity for her to do that. So they finally come to conclusion with one another, and as they're having this heartfelt moment, we hear a little cry in the background. And we realize that it's because Wade has vaporized into the furnace itself, as like seeped into the walls as water, And so Ember realizes if she gets him to cry, he will be able to cry himself literally back to life. So as she's walking up to the furnace, she goes back to that, the do not cry game. So she says like butterfly, half a butterfly on a windshield. And she goes through all the things. They all start saying things to get him to cry, and he literally, again, he cries himself back to life. And then him and Ember are finally able to hug, and they finally have their kiss. And then we have a little bit of a time jump. So months later, Ember and Wade are now preparing to leave the city, so Ember can start her internship at the glass company, and Wade can go travel the world like he's always wanted to. And the final scene is Ember performing that respectful bow to her father, and he does it back to her, and then they embark on their journey.
That's when I cried.
Yeah. It's a very touching moment, honestly.
Yes, very touching when she stops to give her father that bow, and he does it back to her. That's when I teared up.
Yeah, for sure, because it's such like a moment of understanding, of love, of mutual respect.
As a parent,
for each other.
That's the metaphor when you're a parent, is what this whole thing of what they did for her and how they sacrificed for her and what they felt for her, and the respect between them.
And that's what's saying, this movie has so many great underlying messages again of racism, discrimination, all different things, accessibility, that I feel like is done very well, that it's in a very kid-friendly sense, that it's very easy to understand. It's like, oh, they don't like the fire people because they're literal fire and they can light things on fire,
right.
And whatever.
And a lot of the stuff goes right over a kid's head, that what they're looking at is they're looking at the characters, they're looking at the funny scenes.
But I think it's still, you would still pick up on some of those things.
Some kids would pick
it's
up
like
on it. Yes.
The older kids would, at least, not the young kids, obviously. But the older kids would, and I feel like, again, that's a very safe, easy way to start introducing some of these very complex topics of the real world to a child. Even with Inside Out, I remember when Inside Out came out to explain what emotions were and how complex emotions really are in humans. It's something to refer back to, be like, well, this is like, what would we do if like how anger felt in the movie?
Right.
Like how would anger react? Is like, maybe that's your anger is, is coming through right now, or something like that.
Yeah, no, Pixar did a very good job on this one.
Yes, I feel like there's a lot of good metaphors in this movie that can really be used. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so good.
Yeah,
so
I thought
and there's a lot
great.
of funny. I skipped over a lot of the comedic parts, but there are a lot of funny
you can't go through every
moments.
little single thing. Yes, but I got to tell you, some of those scenes, they're just like regular rom-coms where the father's confused, the mother kind of knew, she didn't tell the father. Now she like slips and tells the father, and then he's excited. It's just a whole thing, and the whole. I have to say, Wade was one. If anybody wants a boyfriend, Wade is the one to get.
Wade is the one, because he is so patient, he's so caring, he's so attentive,
so accommodating, so
again,
protective.
He's literally a water person, so he's full of empathy.
Yes, definitely.
And again, here we have another Disney male character who is very emotional, which historically we haven't seen a lot of emotional male characters. But main male character here, who's literally a water person, is quite emotional, which I really love seeing.
the art, how they depict water and fire and the earth and the different the cloud people. I got to give them credit. I mean, Pixar is just very good at it.
It's so creative.
Yes,
just the way that they did it. Like one of the things I said that I loved was that for all the fire people, their little the way they walk their legs, it comes down to a little pinpoint, a little point on the ground. So when she's walking, it's like she's walking little tiptoes. But it's so cute though.
I know. Her little nose is always moving. It's always changing. It was really cute.
Yeah,
really. It really kept your attention through the whole thing. I mean, even the music in the movie. There's music playing, like a lot of instrumental stuff going on through the movie. At the end, when we always stay for all the credits credits till the very, very, very end. And the credits were even entertaining.
Yeah, the credits had like funny little things.
Little
like one of the
signs,
things was like fire burst or something like that.
Yeah,
For, like
little
starburst,
signs, little references, things like that. Even at the end when you saw that there was really only 2 major songs in the movie. It wasn't like that there was music
there's only like 2
playing.
songs with like lyrics, so
right.
to speak. Yeah.
But you realize that through the movies there's the instrumentals that, are keeping your attention and doing whatever. Pixar did a good job.
Yeah, no, for sure. I told my mom after the movie that the only thing I think the movie was missing was like some kind of animal, like, element.
A little pet.
So for instance, like there was no like sidekick, so to speak, in the entire movie at all. Like there's sort of this little kid who's sort of a sidekick in a way, but you never really saw him. But there's no, like I would have loved to see like a little fire cat or like a little water
little
dog, or like,
yeah.
A little guinea pig cloud, or something. I thought that would have been really cute. But
no pets in this movie.
Yeah, there are no animals at all in the entire movie. Like animals,
which is unusual for Pixar.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, I'm surprised. Maybe they just didn't have time to like finish the animations for them or something.
Maybe
because that's also like what you could sell too. Like again, they sold that little cat from Seoul for a long time. So you have to have something to be cute.
Yes.
But again, I would have loved to have like a little fire cat.
Of course,
or something.
a little fire kitty.
I thought that'd be really cute. But all right, so who was your favorite character?
The mother. I love the mother.
Yeah,
she was so determined, so
right,
cute,
she was so funny,
funny that I love the mother.
Yeah, right.
Who is yours?
I think Ember. Yeah,
Ember?
No, I just loved Ember. Yeah, I'm definitely a protagonist type of person. I always tend to love the protagonist the best because that's where you see the most growth and change and depiction in the character itself. Right, so yeah, either Ember or Wade because I really loved the 2 of them. I love the 2 of them together too, how they played off one another. Yeah, overall I think they did such a great job on the overall movie. But yeah, all right, what was your favorite like scene?
The father and the daughter. The one that I cried at, obviously. That was my most memorable. It just touched me. I mean, the rest of the movie was really good. I mean, all the scenes. But when she stops, when she's going up the gangplank to go on the ship to go, and she stops and turns around, and you realize what's going on, and that was my favorite scene.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like it's hard to pick, just like one scene specifically. But I liked all of the scenes where we see a lot of the city itself, like Elemental City.
The Elemental City.
Because again, the creativity in creating this fictional type of city based on the elements, I just think is really cool. So it's fun when they're like running through the city or we're having the montages of their dates in the city or something, but you get to see more of the city, more of the people in the city. The city is mainly water people, earth people, and cloud people, but every once in a while you see a little fire person walking around. I'm like, oh look, the fire people do come to like Center City.
Yes.
But yeah, but I did like seeing the overall city itself because I thought that was really fun. I'm excited for when this movie comes to Disney Plus so I can just like pause on those scenes and
you
like
can
look
start
at
to really see the detail. Yeah, when you're sitting in the movie for the first time and everything's going on, it's kind of hard to capture everything.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, but I want to just appreciate how they actually built this place in the first place, and so I'm looking forward, just to like appreciate what goes on from here. And I hope the movie does well and they do a sequel because again they did set it up for a sequel, but it's very closed. It definitely could just be one movie and then never do another. But again, they could do another of like her traveling with Wade and them going to the glass internship, maybe traveling around, seeing more of their world, especially too.
Could be.
Because all these people probably all like the original homeland of the water people, the original homeland of like the cloud people.
And they can
cool.
experience it from their points of view.
Yeah, no, exactly. So would love to see that. So overall, loved it. So anything else you want to add?
No, though it was good. I loved it. Like I said, I enjoyed it. It was very entertaining, very colorful, and like I said, I am a rom-com person, so I was happy to see a nice little happy romantic ending.
No, yeah, for sure. All right, we will transition now into some Disney news because we do have a little bit of news to share today. So just real quick, at Disney Hollywood Studios, they have introduced 2 new drinks to celebrate Elemental. So we have Ember's Fiery Float and Wade's Cool Blue Float that are both available at Hollywood Studios. So if you want to celebrate Elemental and have a little drink, that would be a fun thing. But a lot of our news is going to come with the holidays because can you believe it? We are 6 months out from Christmas, which is wild. The day that this podcast comes out is June 26th. So again, we're 6 months out from Christmas. So Disney has released a lot of their upcoming Disney holiday things that are coming. So one of the first things that is announced is that Run Disney is doing the 12 Ks of Christmas. So this will be a virtual race of 3 4K running events and challenges. So again, that's 3 races of 4K running to equal the 12 Ks of Christmas, which is pretty cool. This is the first time they're doing like a Christmas-based virtual race. I don't really do virtual races, so I probably won't be doing it, but a lot of the artwork looked really cute though. So Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party has been announced. What they do every year, but yeah, the dates will be from selected dates between like November 11th to December 20th. It will also feature the things that we've kind of seen in Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party in the past. So Mickey's Most Merriest Celebration. All of this is like tongue twisters. Minnie's Wonderful Christmas Time Fireworks, Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas Time Parade, and there's also going to be a new Frozen-inspired projection show called Frozen Holiday Surprise that will be at Magic Kingdom. The really big news for the holidays is that Disney Hollywood Studios is now going to host Disney Jollywood Nights, which will be a hard ticket holiday event again select nights between November 11th to December 20th. Actually, I think Mickey's Very Merry Christmas goes until December 22nd. I will have the links for both of these in the description if you want to go check them out. So the Disney Jollywood events, that's okay, that's fine. It's just because the train is going off that we had the door open for a little bit. Yeah, so the Disney Jollywood events is a new thing that they are doing. So on Disney's website, they say it's a Hollywood vibe like you've never felt before. Sights of sparkling decor, sights of modern beats over classic holiday songs, tastes of craft cocktails and decadent dishes. It's nostalgic and it's glitz and glam galore. Get ready to dress in your holiday glam best or festive flair, dance the night away to merry mashups, indulge in divine treats and bubbling spirits, and snap selfies with iconic characters during this festive event. There will also be a limited capacity entertainment experience at the Hollywood Brown Derby. They're basically going to turn the restaurant into a jazz lounge, and they are also going to have an otherworldly soiree at the Hollywood Tower Hotel courtyard. So again, you will have to get tickets to this event, and those limited capacity experiences will be at this event as well. Guests with hotel reservations can start booking on June 29th, so at the end of this week. If you have a reservation in December or in November when the parties are going on, you can start booking, and everyone else can start booking on July 6th. And also one last little tidbit is that Epcot's Candlelight Procession will also return, which we figured it would. Yeah, but that Jollywood Nights event is the new thing that they have not done before. There's been no other nighttime events that other than Magic Kingdom, so that will be interesting to see what it's going to look like.
No, they used to just have that Hollywood Studios. They used to have the thing where they did the Jolly Jingle Jam, whatever it was that we went to, that they did something on the building with those two elves that used to do the story.
Yeah, they had like a nighttime show.
Nighttime show.
But it wasn't like a hard ticket event. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. But they did have a nighttime show that they had brought on. And then I think that was before COVID. So once COVID hit, then they took it away and they didn't come back with it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I remember we did wait to see that one time. It was cute.
It was cute.
Yeah, it was fine. But I'm excited to see this Jollywood Nights. We will not be going to either of these after party events. However, I do enjoy watching the videos of the parades. I think the parades are fun to see. I do like, seeing, the fireworks shows, videos of that as well. But yeah, overall, we won't be doing this. I only say that because I know in other podcast episodes you mentioned we will be in Disney in December, but we will not be going to either of these events. However, I'm excited to see how they turn out and if people like them. And you never know, maybe in the future we'll go to one of them if we realize one of them's, going to be fun enough for us to attend or something. So we'll see. All right, so that was all the Disney news for right now. There's a lot of other Disney news, but I feel like that's the biggest Disney news that's kind of going on. All right, so let's get into some Disney birthdays. So on July 1st is Indiana Jones's birthday, which kind of works out because this upcoming weekend on June 30th, that is when the new Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny movie is coming out. So it's kind of coming out just in time for Indiana Jones's birthday. I don't know if that's how they planned it, if I'm being honest, but yeah, his new movie is coming out, and also, Indiana Jones's birthday is this weekend. So happy birthday to Indiana Jones. So yes, I don't know if we're going to be doing a Dial of Destiny review. I realize this is literally a movie review that we're doing right now, but it's just because neither of us are big Indiana Jones fans. It's like I've seen the Indiana Jones movies a long time ago.
The trailer actually looked I'm not an Indiana Jones fan at all. Too many bugs and snakes and stuff in his movies, but I gotta tell you, the trailer made this one look very good.
Yeah, the movie looks good, but I don't know.
Looks interesting.
If you want to go see it, we can try, but I feel like it's going to be hard to squeeze in. But I think our next movie review is going to be The Haunted Mansion, which is coming out at the end of July.
That's only if she can convince me to go.
Yeah, she thinks it's going to be too scary for her to go. But if not, I think I'll go with my dad, and then I will do the plot review and tell her about it. I think is what that's going to be. Or maybe I can finally convince my dad to come on the podcast. All right, and the day that this podcast comes out is, again, on June 26th, which is my partner Ted's birthday. So happy birthday to Ted as well. So I'm not a Disney character, but it's also his birthday. So we'll wish him a happy
important
birthday.
Enough to say happy birthday.
Yeah, no, again, he's the one that picked all of our Disney trivia questions in last week's episode. But happy birthday, Ted. All right, now we're to our final segment of the podcast, which is our Disney memory. So do you have a Disney memory?
I made a Disney memory by going to the movie with you. I think the memory of going to the movie, the car chase down the Garden State Parkway to get to the movie theater.
No, us like trying to rush to go see this movie.
Just seeing the movie together. That to me, that was a great memory.
For sure. I kind of agree with that. That it's like, all the movies that we've seen in theaters. So before COVID, we used to see every November movie together. So whenever Disney released their Thanksgiving movie, that Wednesday before Thanksgiving, we always went to go see that movie in theaters, basically every single year. I think this year is going to be the movie Wish, which is about the new. I think she looks like a Disney princess. I'm not really sure though. The movie Wish is coming out this November. It said on like when we saw the trailers. So I'm sure that will be the movie we'll see this November. But but we haven't done that since the end of COVID. So maybe this year will be the first year we go back to the theaters in November. A lot of memories of just going to the theaters. Recently, I went to go visit my two best friends from my childhood in my childhood hometown, and we went to the movie theater that we used to go to growing up. And it was so wild being in that movie theater because I haven't been in that movie theater in many years. But it's just the same. They really haven't changed it all too much. But it was lovely being back in that theater and seeing. I saw the Spider-Man Across the Universe in that theater with them. But it was great being back in that theater. So so many memories of going to the movies because we've always loved movies, loved the Disney movies. But so that was kind of my memory. Kind of two broad memories for today.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to our podcast episode today. I hope you did enjoy it, and let us know what you thought of Elemental. So we will have a dedicated Instagram post for this podcast episode on our Instagram, Spaceship Earth Design. So make sure you follow us on Instagram. I will also have it linked in the description below since I may be rebranding our social medias one day. Make sure to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you are currently listening. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a YouTube comment below. Have you seen the movie Elemental? Are you planning on seeing the movie? What was your favorite part? Would love to hear your thoughts as well. I love talking about movies. I don't know anyone as of right now in my real life who's also seen Elemental other than my mom, so I'd love to connect with other people who've seen the movie. But thanks so much for listening.
Bye bye.
We'll see you real soon.